Hi, I'm Mark Needham with StarTree, and in this video we're going to learn about the Dedup feature in Apache Pinot. So Dedup is used when we might have duplicate records in the data streaming platform, but want to make sure that we don't have any in Apache Pinot. So let's have a look at a data generator. So you can see here it creates some events with a cut down UID, a timestamp, and a count. The next thing we're going to do is use red panda keeper to create our topic. We're going to give it 5 partitions and we'll call it events. And after we've done that, we're going to call the data generator and we'll pipe the response into the JQ tool. And we're going to construct a message for Kafka. So the key is going to be UID. So keep that in mind because we're going to need to remember that when we get to the Pinot side. And then we'll pipe it into Kafka using the KCat tool. We're going to see how this feature works by creating 2 tables, one with the Dedup enabled and one without. Let's start with the one that doesn't have Dedup. So we'll look at the schema first. You can see here we've got a schema, it's called events, it's got the timestamp, the UID, and the count as well. And now let's have a look at our table config. So you can see it's called events, it's a real-time table, and then if we look down a bit, we can see the Kafka config. Now let's have a look at the one that has Dedup. So we'll start with the schema. So everything is the same, just one extra piece of information in there, which is the primary key columns. And the key that we're using here needs to match the one that we use in the stream. So we can specify multiple keys, but we just need to make sure that one of them is the one that was used by the stream. And now for the table. So the top bit, the Kafka config, all very much the same. But if we scroll down, we can see some different configs. So the first thing is we need to make sure that we've got this routing instance selector type set to strict replica group. And that will ensure that all segments of the same partition are served by the same server to ensure data consistency. And then the second thing is the Dedup config. So we've got to make sure that Dedup is enabled. And then we can also optionally set a hash function. So if you were using lots of primary keys or you had a very long, big primary key, you might want to use a hash function to reduce the size of the key that gets stored by Pinot. Next thing we're going to do is add the table. So we'll start with the one without Dedup. So we'll add in the schema file, the table config, and then let's run that. Give that a few seconds. That table's now been created. And then we're going to do the same thing for the table that does have Dedup enabled. So again, the schema file, the table config, and we'll run that. And now we're ready to navigate over to the Pinot UI. So you see we've got 2 tables. We've got events and then events underscore Dedup. So we're going to start by looking at events. So let's click on that. And so you can see here we've got lots of records coming in and you can sort of see them underneath. You can see sort of more and more records coming in. So if we write a query now to count the number of unique UIDs that we have, as you can see, if we run that, you can see we've got about 75 million records in there, and there's about 19,000, 18,000 for each UID. Now, what about if we do the same for events Dedup? So let's click on that one. We have so few records. So you see we only saw 4,096 records. And that's because they aren't actually getting ingested into Pinot. As soon as there's a duplicate, it doesn't get ingested. And the Dedup works out whether a primary key has already been ingested by using an in-memory map from the primary key or primary keys to the segment that contains the record for that key. And there are more details in the blog post, which is included in the description. And let's just confirm that for ourselves. So we'll write a similar query. So we're going to count how many UIDs there are in this event Dedup table, grouped by the UID. And you can see we only get 1. So remember, before we had 18,000, and this time we've only got 1 for each one, which is exactly what we'd expect. And so that's the end of this video in which we've learned how to use the Dedup feature in Apache Pinot. Give it a try and let us know how you get on. And I'll see you in the next video.